Hi, welcome to the Flavor Lab. So today I want to make some peanut butter whiskey. Now I promise this is going to be the last peanut butter video for a while, but what I'm going to be doing here is basically just making some peanut butter infused whiskey. Now here in the US we actually have a commercial product that is already like a peanut butter infused whiskey. It's known as Screwball, and I actually had a couple of friends of mine say this is actually pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some peanut butter whiskey and then I'm going to compare it to this at the end to see if it tastes any similar or if mine's better, maybe, let's hope. All right, there's not much to say other than, once again, let's start by making some peanut butter. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and get started by making some defatted peanut butter. So this footage might look a little familiar to some of you. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is actually roast some peanuts. So I have some raw peanuts here and I'm just gonna basically stick these into an oven and roast these at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. Now the benefit of doing this is you can make a really dark roasted peanut butter, which might actually taste pretty good in a whiskey. Okay, once our peanuts have been roasted, go ahead and pull them out of the oven. And we ended up with some peanuts that look like this. And the next step is just really to grind these up and turn this into a peanut butter. So to do this, I initially just used a mortar and pestle to kind of initially break this up, but then that was kind of pointless. So the moral of the story is you can just skip the whole kind of crushing it up in a mortar and pestle step and just pour them directly into a food processor. Once you have it into a food processor, just give it a few little, pulses, and that's just gonna kind of break everything up and make it more uniform. And then when you get to this stage, you can just leave it on. And then basically what's gonna happen is it's gonna go through a bunch of different stages, and eventually what you're gonna end up with is some peanut butter, and it should look like this. Well, now when you get to this stage, if you were to actually make a real peanut butter, you might wanna add some salt, but we're not going for that here. So what you wanna do though is take this peanut paste and spread it out onto a tray. And then what we're gonna do is use a paper towel to kind of soak up any excess oil. And this is gonna take a few attempts to basically just kind of soak up, oil multiple times. And what we're doing really is just removing that oil from the actual peanuts. And the reason we don't want that in the whiskey is it's just gonna kind of float on top and it's not gonna look very sightly. We're still gonna be able to extract plenty of flavor without that oil. So you can see here, this is what the defatted peanut butter should look like. And as I run a spoon through this, you can see that it's just kind of like, it's not as smooth, it's almost a little bit chunky. And that's exactly what we're going for here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna collect this stuff in a bowl, and I'm gonna put about, 1 or 2 tablespoons of this peanut butter into a mason jar, and then I'm just gonna fill the rest up with some vodka. Now, initially, I wasn't sure that I was gonna be able to really nicely extract out the peanut butter particles, and I was kind of worried about it mixing with the whiskey. So that's why I chose to use vodka. But I was actually able to remove the peanut butter quite efficiently. So if you want to, you can just directly mix this with whiskey here instead of going through this additional step of using vodka as kind of a buffer. So what you're gonna do is just mix the peanut butter with the vodka or whiskey if you choose to go down that route until you get something that looks nice and kind of gross. Just put the lid on the mason jar, seal it up, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna let this sit for some time. So I let mine sit for about 30 days total, and it looked like this, which obviously, again, doesn't look like the most appetizing thing. Now the idea here is we wanna actually just separate the peanut butter solids from the actual vodka itself. So to do this as just a first step, I was like, I'm just gonna use a coffee filter. I didn't think that this was gonna be that effective, but it actually turned out to work really well. So I'm just using a normal paper coffee filter, and I'm just gonna let this sit. Now, initially you're gonna start to get some vodka flowing through, and this, it's gonna be just fine. But over time, what you're gonna notice is that eventually you're gonna get kind of a cakey mud mixture at the top. And all you have to do is basically just use a spoon and carefully break this up without breaking the paper filter. And what you should notice is that, you'll get more of the vodka going through the paper. And after doing this about 2 or 3 times, we have collected our peanut butter flavored vodka. And I have to say that this stuff is pretty awesome on its own. I mean, it tastes like peanut butter flavored vodka. And as far as the peanut butter on top, you could make one really alcoholic peanut butter and jelly sandwich with this if you wanted to. All right, so the next step is literally just to blend this with some whiskey. Now I have to say, I don't know anything about whiskey at all. I'm really just kind of a total idiot when it comes to this. The original Screwball says it's an American whiskey. I'm just gonna mix this to taste and kind of keep mixing it until it kind of tastes like it's peanut buttery enough. And I suspect that the original version of Screwball is sweetened somehow, but I'm not gonna do that with this one. I wanna kind of leave it more just for the flavoring. All right, and that's basically it. Now it's time for our taste test. All right, so I have the peanut butter whiskey here. which we'll do a taste test in a second. But first, I want to compare it to the Screwball whiskey, which is the commercially available stuff. But first, I want to compare it to the Screwball whiskey, which actually I've never had before. So I just have this little airplane bottle, and let's see how this tastes. Oh, okay, wow. So definitely sweetened, which this one isn't. However, if you wanted to sweeten, all you need to do is just just dissolve some sugar into some water, or you could even just dissolve the sugar into the whiskey itself, and that'll give you a more sweetened flavor. And the second thing is, I don't know if they use flavoring on here. Let's see if it says anything. It says with natural flavor, so that means that they could be using flavoring in here. It's a lot more like pungent. And I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with artificial, or I don't think there's anything wrong personally with bolstering stuff with flavors. But I definitely don't think that this is from actual peanut butter. Could be wrong, but it's very intense. So now let's compare this to the whiskey that we made. All right, so let's taste the whiskey that we made. I mean, this is gonna sound a little bit mean, but this is a lot better. I haven't had Screwball before, but this whiskey to begin with is already a lot better. And then the peanut butter has a less in-your-face flavor. It's a more subtle, almost like peanut butter cookie flavor. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and there'll be another video next week. All right, see you guys later. Bye.